Hey, what's going on YouTube? Obviously, I'm here today to talk about pregnancy after having the gastric sleeve surgery. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about my perspective and my journey, then go ahead and keep watching. I had to take off my lip gloss. It was like sticking when I was trying to talk. Gross. So before I dive into this video, I do want to give a little disclaimer that this is my personal journey and my experience. I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form, and my views are not going to be indications of what your experience may be or someone else's experience may be. Everyone is different, especially when it comes to pregnancy. Everyone's pregnancy is so different, so just wanted to get that out there. A little bit about me. I had my surgery at the Christian Institute of Advanced Surgery with Dr. Caitlin Halbert. She doesn't work there anymore. I believe she's still with the Christiana Care system, but I think she's working at the Jefferson Medical College right now. Not quite exactly sure where she is, just know she's no longer working for Creos. She did a fantastic job. She was super friendly, and I loved having her as my surgeon. I started at 288 and I got down to 183 at my lowest. I'm currently 24 weeks pregnant and now weigh 197. I was 194 when I became pregnant, so I did lose a lot of weight when I became pregnant, and during my first trimester I was very sick. Get a little bit more into that later. So those are just some stats on my weight loss surgery. There's definitely way more information in my other videos, so feel free to check those out. So we found out I was pregnant in the beginning of April. We were very excited. My parents were very excited. My mom was very, very emotional. It was adorable. So obviously the first thing you do when you find out you're pregnant is you want to call and set up an appointment with the doctor. So I struggled with this a lot because we have a doctor by my house. They don't have the best reputation. Some people swear by them, say they're the most amazing ever. And then I've just heard so many horror stories, and I was just really scared. And most of the horror stories are more about the bedside manner and how they're treated and things of that nature. And I'm very responsive to how people treat me, and I don't care if you're the best doctor in the entire planet. I don't want you anywhere near me if you're going to be rude or make me feel minimized or anything like that. So bedside manner is extremely important to me. So I was very hesitant in making an appointment with them. I also wanted a holistic type birth. So I wasn't quite sure if I wanted a water birth or wanted to just do it in like the home type setting, but at a birthing center. So these were all things that I was researching heavily when the first week that I found out I was pregnant. I went ahead and made an appointment with my local doctor, the local OB, because they were the closest and that's who everyone else used. The lady was very short on the phone with me, but I was just like, it's okay, it's the receptionist, not a big deal. And I just went on with my life, and I kept researching the holistic birthing center. So then I am continuing with my pregnancy. Now I've known for about 2 weeks that I'm pregnant, and I start to feel very, very sick. Starting not nauseated, but like lightheaded and dizzy. I'm seeing spots, and I'm having a hard time walking, and I have shortness of breath. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? It's just probably just because I'm pregnant. It's not a big deal. So my husband and I go to Texas to visit my family, and my mom is very concerned. She's like, Kaylee, you're not eating, you're not drinking very much, you're having a hard time walking. Do you feel okay? You don't look right. You look very pale. And then she reminded me that these were a lot of the same symptoms that I had right after weight loss surgery when I was anemic. So we called my OB to see if she could see me as soon as I got back from Texas, because I was only in Texas for like 3 more days. And the receptionist was just like, oh, well, you might be having a miscarriage. And I was like, what? Like, that's very traumatic. And I was just like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you could have like an ectopic pregnancy, or you can be having a miscarriage. So just call and let us know if you have a miscarriage so we can cancel your appointment. And I was like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I want to come in like 3 days. And she's like, well, unfortunately, we can't do that. Your appointment is 2 weeks from now, so you're just going to have to wait 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, but I feel like I need to be seen before that. And she was like, okay, then go to the emergency room because your appointment is in 2 weeks. And I was just like, what the heck? Like, you're my OB. Like, I mean, I know you're the receptionist, but you're supposed to help me and you're not making me feel any better. So I was very scared and I was like, well, what if I am having a miscarriage? What if it is ectopic? What if it's something wrong with me? And she was like, well, if it's a miscarriage, then it's going to happen either way. So call and let us know so we can cancel your appointment. And if it's not a miscarriage, then you'll still be pregnant by the time your appointment comes around and you'll come in. And I was just like, what? Like, is this real life right now? So I was like, you know what? Just cancel that appointment. And I was like, Mom, I don't know what to do now. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is what that lady just said. And my mom was livid. Her mama bear came out and I was like, you know what, let's just go to a walk-in clinic. So I went into a walk-in clinic and they, took a urine sample, but they said they didn't have the stuff to take blood tests and they don't have the machine to do an ultrasound. But you guys, they definitely did let me come back and do a urine test so they could charge me for seeing me. And then afterwards told me they couldn't do anything else besides a urine test to confirm my pregnancy. So they confirmed it and they said I was severely dehydrated. They didn't think it was a miscarriage, but I should go ahead and go to the emergency room. So we went to the emergency room and I told I told the lady at check-in that I was pregnant and I thought I was about 7 weeks pregnant and told her my symptoms and told them I had had surgery and that I had been anemic in the past. She just told me to sit down. Emergency room, they were like, oh, we're going to have a pee test to see if you're pregnant. And I was like, well, I just took one at the other hospital. I don't think I need to take one again. And they were like, well, you have to take one. So I did another pee test. Sure, they tested for other things too. And then they did blood work. And then they did an ultrasound, not ultrasound, but like the internal ultrasound. I don't know what those are called, to confirm my pregnancy. And they said it was not ectopic, which is good. The baby was exactly where it was supposed to be. They said that I was 6 weeks pregnant, not 7 weeks. So I was a little sad. I felt like I was going back in time, but I was very happy that the baby was fine and healthy and where it was supposed to be. So now I wanted to know what was wrong with me. And the emergency room told me I was free to go. And I was like, what about my blood work? And they're like, oh, it hasn't come back yet. I'm like, but why are you sending me home? So frustrating. And then when I asked for copies of my lab work, they said that it was against like some policy, like universal policy, that they can't do that. And my mom is a director of nurses and she called them out so fast. She was like, that is not true. That might be your hospital's policy, but that is not the whatever policy. But they told me I had to request all documents in person 7 days after the labs were taken at the medical office. And then they would give them to me and I was like, okay, well, I'm out of state. So that was really frustrating too, that I wasn't able to get those to take to my OB because they didn't really go over all my blood work once I did stay there until my blood work came back and my mom reviewed them. And she was like, okay, it doesn't look like you're anemic and blah, blah. It does look like you're severely dehydrated and you're a little malnourished, but everything else looks fine. So my mom took me home. It was kind of weird that my mom went over my lab work with me and not a doctor or nurse because they were trying to discharge us. Maybe they were busy. I don't know. And guys, they billed my insurance all incorrectly and I kept getting all these bills. So frustrating. So I went back home and I called the birthing center and asked them if I could schedule an appointment. And they were super nice and kind and asked me a bunch of questions. And then unfortunately, when I told them that I had had gastric bypass surgery, or sleeve surgery, not bypass, they told me that I could not be a patient of theirs, that they don't accept high-risk patients. So apparently, once you have the gastric sleeve, you're automatically a high-risk patient. So I was a little devastated by that, but didn't waste any time. Immediately called the OB in Christiana, scheduled an appointment, told them what had happened. I came in, filled out the forms so they could request my lab work. And they went over it with me and they were like, oh, did they give you fluids? And I was like, no, they didn't even look at my lab work before they sent me home. And she said that they definitely should have given me at least 2 bags of fluids. I was severely dehydrated. But so she redid my lab work. She did all these other lab works too. It was like, I don't know. I passed out to getting blood work done because I took so much and I didn't have the energy to give it. It was very traumatic. Like my body went cold and I had like these cold sweats and I was like shaking, but my mom said that I was like hot to the touch. So apparently my blood sugar and blood pressure both dropped very quickly when they were taking blood. Um, so that was no fun. Make sure you're hydrated and have food in your system when you give blood. So they sent my blood work off to be looked at because they didn't have it there in the facilities, and they said it would take about a week. So the next conversation I had with my OB was trying to figure out how far along I was, which was very confusing. So at the emergency room, they said I was 6 weeks, and then which put my due date at November 30th. And then my last missed period put my due date at like November 15th, and then, or around the second week of November. And then my average cycle length, because I keep track of all my cycles in an app on my phone because I've had fertility problems in the past. So that is just something I've been tracking for about 3 or 4 years now. And the app said my average cycle length is about 44 days long. So based off of that, my due date is the 26th. So it was kind of confusing. They went ahead and decided to go with November 30th based off of my levels and from what they got at the emergency room and the size of the baby. When I went in for my 13-week appointment, they took a measurement of the baby as well, but they were saying she was measuring at more around the 14 week, like 14 and a half weeks. So she was measuring a week to a week and a half big. And then when I went in for my 20-week ultrasound, they said that I was like 20 weeks and like 5 days or something. And they said that she was looking like she was right at the end of 19 weeks. So about 5 or 6 days behind. So they did tell me that the further along you get, the harder it is to base your due date off of the size of the baby, because babies grow at different rates within a week of each other, kind of. So that was kind of interesting, but we went ahead and stuck with November 30th. So my due date is November 30th. I just have a feeling that it's going to be the 28th, but they say first-time moms are usually a week late anyway. I really hope not. Pregnancy's been very, very difficult for me. I got diagnosed with HG, which I can talk about more in another video, but basically, like, I don't even want to compare it to morning sickness, because comparing it to morning sickness is like comparing a hurricane to a sprinkle shower outside. Like, it is not the same thing at all. But I didn't start getting sick until week 10. So for the first like 10 weeks of my pregnancy, I felt relatively fine. I did get dizzy and dizzy a lot, slightly nauseated, but I never actually got sick. And my vision was very spotty, and I think that's just either my blood pressure going up and down. My blood work came back relatively normal. I was deficient in vitamin B and vitamin D, and one of my thyroid levels, which they've been continuing to monitor, and sometimes it's low and sometimes it's normal. So they just say that sometimes people experience dizziness and lightheadedness during pregnancy and that it's normal. So that was kind of my first 10 weeks, and then, which sucked. I mean, it's not fun being dizzy and lightheaded, but after 10 weeks, like, it just got so miserable. I started getting sick like 8 to 10 times a day. I literally could not eat or drink anything. I had a difficult time going to work just when people would spray the perfumes. The smells would overwhelm me and it would make me nauseous. I was also working at a middle school, and sometimes middle schoolers don't smell the best, so them working with them, like, sometimes I had one student, I love him, he's amazing, but he doesn't smell the best, and he would come into my office and it would immediately make me puke, and I felt very bad. But it is what it is. Couldn't eat or drink anything. I ended up in the emergency room again. I called my OB. I was like, I feel like I'm dying. I literally have not been able to eat or drink anything in 3 days. I'm having a hard time getting out of bed. I feel so dizzy, lightheaded. And she was like, you need to go to the emergency room right now and get fluids, and I'll move your appointment up and see you earlier. So she scheduled me for the next soonest appointment, and I went to the emergency room it's a triage specifically for pregnant people, and they gave me the fluids and stuff. Severely dehydrated again, and but my doctor kept saying, it's just morning sickness, it's just morning sickness. And then, I hit 18 weeks, and she's like, keeps telling me that it's going to go away, and it just keeps getting worse, and I still am having a hard time drinking. Eating got a little bit easier around 15 weeks, but still very hard time drinking, which drinking is more important. So I finally was like kind of self-diagnosed myself with HG, because my OB is saying that it's because she thinks it's because my weight loss surgery is preventing me from eating. But either way, I have a very hard time eating. I have a very hard time drinking, very nauseated. Finally, I went to the emergency room, and they gave me medication for HG, and it's gotten better since then. Now I'm 24 weeks pregnant. I've been on the medication for about 6 weeks, or 5 weeks now, and it is a lot better. I only get sick about 3 or 4 times a week now instead of 10 plus times a day. I'm definitely able to eat and drink a lot more. I'm still only drinking maybe 30 to 40 ounces of fluid when my doctor wants me drinking like 80 to 100. And I'm still not eating very much. I'm trying to eat small meals, just like after weight loss surgery, just small meals every like 2 or 3 hours. But I have a hard time with that. I'm eating like a small meal every 6 hours. So still not getting all those nutrients. And I do have days where I get very dizzy and nauseated, and I feel like I'm going to pass out. My family came to visit, and we went to the beach. I thought I was perfectly fine. We walked down the pier and got ice cream and decided to go to a less crowded beach. So hadn't even sat down yet, hadn't even been a full 20 minutes. We drove down to the next beach where it's less crowded, and we decided to get lunch. And I basically passed out during lunch and then started vomiting profusely. And we went home, so no beach day. And my mom said that we weren't going to do anything else for the rest of the week and made us stay home. And I felt really bad because my younger cousin had come to visit, and she'd never been to the East Coast before. So I was like, man, we could have been. My mom had plans. We were going to go to New York for 2 days, and we were able to go to Philly the day before we went to the beach. But we were going to go do Washington, D.C. and do the beach and all this fun stuff. And because I was sick, we couldn't do it. So, but my husband's been very understanding through all of it, very helpful. My parents have been very helpful. My workplace has not been understanding at all. Just mainly specific individuals, but they're the individuals that matter, that have just made it more difficult. But it is what it is. So HG has definitely not been fun. Fortunately for everybody watching this video, HG only affects like less than 2% of pregnancies. So I don't think it's related in any way, shape, or form to having had weight loss surgery. Less than 2% of people get it. I was looking up some data on it, and I found something interesting. So in the UK, the ratio for like positive blood and negative blood, only 15% of people are Rh negative, so you have some type of negative blood. I have negative blood, and then the other 85% are positive. But when you look at HG and the rates of HG, it's kind of like closer to 50-50 in the UK of people who have HG, which makes it very lopsided. So they have a theory that having negative blood type makes you more susceptible to having HG when you're pregnant. But it's very, very, very horrible. If you know anybody who has HG, please be very sympathetic towards them. Don't try to compare it to morning sickness. It's very insulting to have it compared to morning sickness. Even if it's in well intentions, please don't give advice. It's just hurtful because we can't control it. Making ourselves throw up and like brushing our teeth in the morning is not going to make it stop for the rest of the day. It's not how that works. And even on days where like I'm not getting sick, I still feel horrible. Like I have headaches all the time. I feel this constant pressure in my head. I feel it basically like I have the flu. Like my whole body just isn't wanting to function and wanting to work. And like it just drags, and it's just because I don't have enough water and I don't have enough food in my system. And it's not as easy as drinking more or eating more. It's a very misunderstood diagnosis, and it's very frustrating. So, like I said, if you know somebody who's experiencing GH, just try to be there for them and be understanding, be there, watch TV with them, and just understand that they might not be able to go out and do things and that they're miserable. So I even in a moment like I was over the toilet, like completely sick, stuff coming out my nose, I'm crying, I can't breathe. And I look at my husband, and we had been planning on having 3 kids, and I just looked at him and I was like, I don't think I can do this 2 more times. I think we're only having one. And it was very, very dramatic. I'm a very dramatic person. He just kind of laughed at me and told me I was going to be okay. So, but HG has affected so much of my pregnancy. I don't really think that having had surgery, the gastric sleeve, has played a huge impact on my pregnancy. They say you need to wait. My doctor wanted me to wait 18 months. I only waited a year. You're supposed to wait that year. My mom, when she had surgery, was told to only wait a year. Of course, she was done having kids by then, so she didn't really care. She had already had a hysterectomy. So, different doctors say different things. My doctor said 18 months to give your body time to heal, and then time to completely lose all the weight that you're going to lose, because they said it could take a little bit more than a year to lose all your weight, and then give your time for your body to adjust to that new weight and you to adjust to your new eating style before you go and have a baby. And I can definitely understand that, because pregnancy makes your body go through so much. So it's just a whole nother experience, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. Having HG completely sucks. I'm so sorry for anybody who is suffering from it, because I only have a very mild case of HG. I know some moms have to get feeding tubes placed and are having to go get IV treatments several times a week. Fortunately, I've only had to get IV treatment done twice. I haven't had to get a feeding tube, but I feel for all of you out there who have it. It is so horrible, and it's miserable. But anyway, so that's what I have right now. That's how my pregnancy has been going. Definitely nesting, definitely excited. If you guys want to see any of hauls of stuff, because this is my first child, it's my husband's first child. I mean, each other's like been together since high school, so but this is our first child. It's my mom's first grandchild. I'm the oldest out of my step siblings, and out of my cousins, I'm the oldest. So this is like the first great grandbaby, and so it's very exciting. She's getting all kinds of spoils. It is a girl. We're so excited. My husband thought it was going to be a boy. My mom thought it was going to be a boy. Everyone convinced me it was going to be a boy. So the gender reveal was pretty astonishing. It was hilarious. I did get it on video, and I would share it, but Facebook deleted it. I don't know what happened. It was on Facebook. It was saved on Facebook. And then last week Facebook deleted it, so I don't know what happened to it, but I do have photos. They're on my Instagram page. My Instagram's public if you guys want to go see those. But anyway, so that's just a little bit of being pregnant after a weight loss surgery. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you are interested in any haul videos or any more pregnancy update videos, or maybe a video about HG in general for people like that, for people more interested in what HG is, just leave a comment down below and let me know. Definitely not working as much as I used to, so I definitely have free time. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one. Bye.